Good morning and welcome to the first session dedicated to performance analysis here at the Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand Conference. My name is Kirsten Spencer and I am an Associate Professor in Sport Coaching and Performance Analysis here at AUT. I'm also a Director of the International Society of Performance Analysis in Sport, so that's ISPAS. I played in the Hockey New Zealand inaugural North v South Masters competition over the weekend, and whilst the result was great with a win over the South, I have managed to get COVID. So apologies that I cannot be with you in person today and have had to record this presentation. I'd like to begin by thanking my co-presenters Brett and Jason for taking on the chair's role for the session, and in anticipation of their excellent presentations that you'll hear today, which look at the use of performance analysis in rugby, both at the Blues and New Zealand Rugby respectively. This first presentation will showcase the new ISPAS accreditation framework, and in it I propose that this could be of considerable benefit to New Zealand practitioners if we consider embedding it within the Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand accreditation framework. So let's consider the current scenario that we have. There's accreditations in New Zealand, there's accreditations in the UK, there's accreditations in Australia. So what happens for the individuals or for the employers if individuals come to work in New Zealand or if they go abroad? How tricky is this concept of cross-crediting? Now, as I said, I'm a director of ISPAS, and we conducted a piece of research a few years ago where we started to try to understand what are the working conditions for performance analysts in New Zealand, Australia and across the Pacific Islands. The results, which I'll summarise, highlighted that the analysts are predominantly male. They are predominantly aged between 25 and 34. They do see themselves as continuing in the profession for the next 5 years. The majority did have an employment contract. They worked a lot of overtime and they were rarely paid for that overtime. They held an educational qualification, yet less than 50% held an industry accreditation. The map here shows just some AUT students and the international reach that they've had since they've graduated. So what we're thinking about now is the ISPAS accreditation, which is a worldwide accreditation, the possibility and the benefits for our New Zealand students, for our analysts, for our employers, if we actually considered trying to use more of a worldwide approach rather than one that is specifically just for New Zealand. Let's take a closer look now at the three countries, New Zealand, Australia and UK, and we'll try to get a bit of a more of a up-to-date current picture of what are the skills and competencies that we have at these three different countries. So if we look at Sport New Zealand, then we'll see that the accreditation over the next 12 months is under review. The skills and competencies that we have currently is that the candidate does a case study. This can include motion capture, it can include video coding, the analyst can then confidently perform team duties such as video capture, basic game information, post-match analysis, preparing for coaching team and players, filming and coding training sessions, working in collaboration with other staff, centralising all performance data. So it's quite a generic list, and it actually is quite hard, I think, if you're an employer, when I've discussed it with them, to really get an understanding of the level of the analyst. So it's a good list in terms of the competencies that it's explained, but it doesn't actually give you any level of, okay, well, how good is this particular individual, or what is their strength and what areas do they need to work on. When I looked at the ESSA, the Australian version, again, that was highly related to whether the individual had an academic qualification. So there was no particular specific skill or competency for a performance analyst in the Australian accreditation system. And in the UK and BASES, I'm currently at ISPAS working with Nick James and Nimai, who are both at Middlesex University, and actually they're in discussion with BASES for BASES to embed the ISPAS accreditation within their systems, because again they're a little bit like Australia. They don't actually have a separate list of skills and competencies for the analyst in their particular environments. So let's move on now to the ISPAS accreditation framework, and this, as I said, I'll go through it and I will try to explain a little bit about how the framework has been evolved. We are currently testing it with the English Premier League, so they are potentially going to be using it for, I think they have just over 100 analysts, and it'll be part of the requirement for the English Premier League analysts to have completed their ISPAS accreditation. So as I said, it's going through a pilot process at the moment. One of the individuals involved is a guy called Mike Hughes, and he has a background where he has set this up with the English Institute of Sport. So he's very involved now with rugby and with football. And so, as I said, we'll sort of take you through this international competency framework. Please, I've got my email at the end of this, so if there's any questions that you have, again, I apologise I'm not able to be there. But I'm more than happy to get in touch with you individually and discuss it in a little bit more detail. One of the first questions, which I'm always asked, is, why? Why do we need to have, or what would be the benefits of a worldwide accreditation system? And it's really, there's several strands to this. So the first is it aligns our community. The second is it gives clarity to the role of the analyst. And the third thing is it enables individuals who are analysts to look at developing their skill level and their competencies. So our aim really at proposing this for Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand is that it will allow for the development of a world-class accreditation framework which will support analysts at all stages of their careers. It allows us to identify career development opportunities, and again it allows us to support our analysts to become world-class. It provides a home for all analysts to support each other no matter what stage of their career or life cycle. And finally, for the industry, it provides a robust and trustworthy accreditation process that will accurately reflect the analyst's competencies. So it works for the individuals, it works for the sport organisations, and it works for industry. As I alluded to on that map a few slides previous, a lot of the students that I work with have gone international, so this ability to be able to have an accreditation system is very beneficial in terms of employment, both from the employer and the employee's perspective. So one of the first things that you'll notice here about the ISPAS accreditation, and this is for the individual, is that we've split it into 4 streams. So we have the academic stream, we have the data stream, we have the video stream, and then we have the applied stream. One thing that we noticed from our previous accreditation system is that actually the role of the analyst really is quite varied, and you'll see there we've got each analyst will have their skill level 1, 2, 3 or 4. So 4 is the highest. So if I give you an example, you'll see it on the next slide, but for academic, which is that first stream, the analyst pardon me, the analyst can vary at 1, where they're an undergraduate degree level in performance analysis, moving up to level 3, where they have a PhD in performance analysis, moving up to level 4, where they've got sustained experience of successfully supervising PhDs in performance analysis to completion. So it actually starts to provide a grading in terms of the competencies, as I said. So that first one is academic, and the three headings there are qualification, area of expertise, and then publications. So you'll see that in a bit more detail on this slide here. So the area of expertise from the academic accreditation again varies then from level 1, where we demonstrate an understanding of relevant research, or moving all the way up to level 4, where the individual would have an international reputation. So if I think of Nick James, who's at Middlesex, he's a professor in performance analysis, does an awful lot of academic research, he's done many international keynote addresses, and he's got program leadership at master's level. So Nick would be up there as a level 4 in terms of area of expertise. Moving across then to publications, again you can start to get the idea here. We start off at a 1, attends a workshop or a conference, and then moving through up until we get to level 4, where again we have sustained high quality peer reviewed papers. So the key thing to starting to appreciate the difference between the ISPAS accreditation and those other ones that I've mentioned, which is be the BASIS one, or currently the Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand one, or the Australian ESSA one, is that actually we're starting to take into account what are the different levels that the individual has achieved. So again, imagine you are on the receiving end of an individual's CV. This academic part, you'll immediately be able to get a better understanding as to the academic competency of the individual who is applying for your role. You know, are they 1s in the academic area? Are they 4s in the academic area? And I think what's important in understanding this ISPAS is, you know, we've split it into the different types of accreditation, and you'll see at the end that each individual then comes up with a sort of a scorecard, which allows you as the employer or you as the employee, as the analyst, to actually start to look at, okay, well, what are my strengths, and that'll allow you to then direct yourself into a role which is more suited. So let's look at the data accreditation, the competencies. Again, same concept, where we start 1 is your beginner competency level, 4 is where you really have established yourself, and we can see that there in the collection. So a 4 in the collection, so this is data collection. An individual who is rated as a 4 would have established robust processes to generate a powerful longitudinal data set, and that's in comparison to someone who's rated as a 1, who would display and understand the concepts of observation, but not have that robust process. In data, the other area to look at is management. So we've got a level 4 individual who would have in-depth experience of using cloud-based storage systems, and if you compare that to a level 1 individual who collates collected data in a single local repository. So again, this is quite unique, I think, when we compare this to what's currently with Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand. This gives us a much greater understanding of the competency level of the individual. And again, if you think yourself as the employer and you're writing a job specification, actually this will now give you some very strong guidelines in terms of, okay, well, what competencies do we need in the individual for the role which we wish to have assigned. So I think, you know, at ISPAS here we've worked very hard with industry to not just think from the academic side, but to think very clearly about, okay, what are the needs of our industry? So this is where I would be encouraging the individuals looking at the restructuring of the Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand accreditation pathways to really get in touch with us at ISPAS, because I think this could be a very good embedded accreditation system. In data there we have analysis as well. Same concept, starting at quite a simple level, so the individual would demonstrate practical experience of using generic software, and then we get through to level 4 where we have mathematical modelling and much more in-depth data analysis. The third part of our core competencies on the individual accreditation is in video. The three subject areas are capture, handling and feedback, and again we've got 4 levels at each competency, and as we progress through, I feel again it's definitely a great system for you to understand, okay, as an analyst, what do I need to develop? Let's say I was an analyst at capturing and I was level 1. It gives me some good understanding as to the PD that I might need to undertake. We have, as I said, capture, handling and feedback. This links in very well with the data concept, and again it's very much linked to the industry, not just linked to to academia. We then have our last level of competency, which is applied. Pardon me. In applied, we have data visualization, we have systems development, and we have communication. So, data visualization, absolutely critical in terms of performance analysis, and something which really is quite varied pardon me, in the students that I work with. So, when we're looking at industry, say if you're in high performance sport, then what you really want to know is, okay, what skills does my individual have? What are the skills that I need when I've got a project? So again, if we put all this together, pardon me, slightly sore COVID throat, apologies. If we put all this together, then this is an example that Mike Hughes just put together. You'll see we've got the 4 competencies. We've got specialist for academic, we've got the core competency data, core competency on video, and the specialist competency in applied. We have each of the 3 areas. So for academic, qualification, area of expertise in publications; for data, collection, management, analysis; for video, capture, handling and feedback; and for applied, we've got data visualization, system development and engagement. And then what you can see there is you get a sort of rating on each one. So you can look at that and very, very quickly, either as the individual, you can see the areas that you need to improve upon, or the areas you need some PD on, or if you're the employer, you can see, okay, what are the skills of this particular individual? So if I was going to employ this guy called Mike Hughes, if I'm looking for someone actually to do an academic piece of work, perhaps he's not really the man for me to employ. Whereas if I want someone who is incredibly good on video collection, well, not particularly collection because their capture is just rated there as a 1, but actually if I wanted someone who's good at handling video, so I had somebody else capturing the video, then this individual called Mike Hughes is actually pretty good look at handling and feedback for the video, and he's quite strong on his data competency. So it's a very good visual feedback for the individual that you may be employing. Or if you were to look at this as a job specification, it enables you to design your job specification looking at those core competencies. And it's not every individual is going to rate highly on every single competency. But what this accreditation system enables you to do is to actually start to break down and have a good understanding as to what can each individual offer, and what is it that I actually need. So that's looking at individual accreditations. Now, development which I think is quite unique to the ISPAS accreditation system is this concept of departmental accreditations. So again, we've gone through the same streams. So we have academic, data, video and applied. So there's a consistency across the competency system. And I haven't got them all set out on each individual slide. But as you can see, we then have descriptors for each one of those 4 areas. So we've got the academic, the data, the video, and the applied. So this actually enables clubs, it enables NSOs, sport organisations to look at their department and to actually determine, okay, what level of accreditation would our department be, which has a twofold benefit. Again, it comes from the department itself, knowing, okay, what level are we at in the 4 core areas, our core competencies. What areas do we need to either employ somebody in, or what areas do we need to do some PD work in? Then from the analysts themselves, they can look at the departmental accreditation and they can see, okay, actually I'm gonna fill a gap there, so I'm more likely to be sought after by that particular department. So again, it's something which is quite unique, and it's not really that prevalent in the Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand accreditation, or the BASIS accreditation, or the Australian accreditation system. So something which we're pretty happy with it at ISPAS, in the sense that it's going to offer something to our industry. So one of the sort of next progression is, well, what is the actual process that is required for either an individual or for an organisation to get involved in the accreditation system. So the aim of accreditation is to make sure that there's a robust, objective assessment of these performance analysis competencies. So what we're looking for really is for clubs, for departments, for individuals to embed this accreditation system. As I said, we're currently working with English Premier League for their analysts, and we'll go through now the assessment process for this. So the assessment process, we have pre-acceptance, post-acceptance, then we have pre-submission 1 and 2, then we have submission, which is stage 1, then we have assessment 1 and 2, then we have post-assessment. And the assessments will all be carried out by ISPAS mentors. So what we're working on currently is training up the mentors across the world, so we have consistency in terms of the levels for each one of those core competencies. So the process itself. So the assessment process, as you can see, we have pre and post acceptance on the assessment process. Then we have submission of information. Then we have assessment stage, and then we have post-assessment stage. And we've got, pardon me, varying types of work that's required, and we have 2 intake stages where you can intake in either January or in July. Just so you realise, our directors, I'm obviously based down here in New Zealand. Another director, Vinny, is the analyst for the Irish Rugby, so he's over in Ireland. Then we've got Nick and Nima, Nick and Nima, who are both at Middlesex. Then we have Wilbur, who is at Stellenbosch and does a lot of work with the South African Rugby. So we're spread across the globe, which then enables us to start to think about how to set this accreditation up from a worldwide perspective, and not just from one particular continent. So we'd start off with 1-hour webinars, pre-recorded or live, and these can happen throughout the year. Then, as I said, we have 2 intakes, 1 in January, 1 in July. Then there is a portfolio that needs to be submitted. That portfolio has a checklist. I won't go into too much details about that at the moment, but I'm very happy to send it to you if you wish. I've got a lot more information on this. I'm sort of just explaining it to you at the moment, and I'm very happy to get in touch with anybody who would like more details. I'll speak to Andy Kilding and get some of the names and email addresses so I can make some really good connections with you. So, as I said, there's a portfolio that needs to be submitted. That has a checklist, that has a reflective narrative. The applicant is asked to provide 2 supporting reference letters, a full CV, some supporting evidence. Usually this would be a degree certificate or a transcript, and then evidence of their ISPAS membership. In the pre-acceptance stage, the applicant is asked to attend, and this can be online, an accreditation workshop, and to register their interest. In the post-acceptance stage, so once the applicant has registered their interest and they're accepted, then there are they move into the pre-submission stage, and applicants in that stage get assigned a mentor. So that's the pre-submission stage 1, and ISPAS will have mentors around the globe that work on the timeframes. So the individual will be will be assigned a mentor. And they will then map out their application with the framework and discuss this plan with their mentor. So applicants are then asked to provide a list of 3 referees and select 2 to write supporting documents for application in consultation with the mentor. So we have a pre-submission stage where we help guide the applicant. Then we have a pre-submission stage 2 where we collect the documents into a folder. The draft documents are just reviewed and then signed off by their mentor. So again, it's a guiding process. Mentors, as I said, are very important in this because it's a process where we're really trying to help the individual to fully appreciate, okay, what is the work that they've done and how can they best relate that to the core competencies that we've got. Once we then get to the submission stage, the ISPAS will collate all the submissions. So again, thinking about Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand here, and if we have any Australians in the audience, the ESSA, then actually ISPAS will do the collating of information and will form assessor panels and allocate the submissions. So it's as I said, BASES at the moment are currently in discussion with us to embed this as their accreditation system, and this is something which the reason why I'm doing this presentation is to see that actually Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand, this could be something where you wish to embed it in your sport or have it as part of your Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand accreditation system, and it would then provide the individuals with a worldwide international accreditation. So ISPAS has assessor panels set up, and we can see there we have the submission occurs either in July or January. Then we have assessments, in August, September, or February or March. Outcomes then are awarded. If there's any appeals, then there's an appeal process which has been set up as well. So as you can see, the assessment process has been well thought out. It's just being tested at the moment, as I said, with the English Premier League, and it's definitely from a worldwide perspective trying to create that opportunity for individuals from varied backgrounds. So if I come back to my map of the world, you can see that we have all the different continents. The perspective really from ISPAS is that we want to provide this international accreditation to develop the world-class accreditation framework to support analysts at all stages of their careers, to identify career development opportunities, support all our analysts to become world-class, and we want to try to provide, as we said, a home for our analysts to support each other. So no matter what stage of career they're at or their life cycle, they feel that they've got an opportunity to develop and actually be able to understand, okay, what level are they at. So this system, this accreditation system which we've designed, will provide a robust and trustworthy process that will accurately reflect the competencies of the analysts which apply for jobs, and as analysts move across the world, enables them to have an accreditation system which they can take with them. So the analysts would end up looking something like this. Okay, they would have the opportunity, I think, if they were a part of Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand, to said, I'm encouraging you to think about embedding this within the Sport and Exercise Science New Zealand accreditation process. It will provide employers and employees with more consistent knowledge of the competencies and the skills of the performance analysts. And it will provide the analysts with a greater understanding of the competencies of the department or the rugby club or the whatever part of the industry it is they're thinking about joining. So it's an opportunity, I think, for us to really discuss, okay, how do we want to develop accreditations? And if we get it right, then hopefully it'll reduce those moments when you realise that the analysts that you employed can't actually do what you thought they could, or that you took a job, you were the analyst and you took a job and it didn't meet the expectations that you were actually promised. It will give you the opportunity to have these different competencies at different levels with different strands, and will provide it from a worldwide perspective. So that really, I think, comes to the end of my presentation. I apologise for having COVID, not able to be there. I'm extremely happy and keen to get in touch. I'm really quite disappointed that I can't be there. These are my contact details: kspencer@aut.ac.nz, and I'm obviously sat at home just coughing a little bit, but I'm very, very happy and very keen to get in touch. So thank you ever so much for coming to the conference. I'm going to hand over now to Brett and to Jason to continue with this use of performance analysis in sport and exercise science in New Zealand. And really, really delighted to have been invited to present at the conference. And just apologies for my poor timing on getting COVID. So thank you ever so much indeed. And Brett, over to you.